everyone, how's it going? It's the Fuzz! You know, I was gonna do a video about draft related things, but now Forest Bear came along and spoiled us some new cards! So of course I have to cover those, starting with Diogen the Carebear Pilgrim, as you will very soon be known. So let's see, 2 mana, 2 aspect, whatever body, but the effect, when it comes into play, return a card with cost 1 or less from your graveyard to your hand. So, okay, actually, we'll get back to that. Your level 1 creatures without Valor have Valor +1. Valor, if you remember, is when it enters the field, you distribute that many Might emblems among creatures you control, which can include itself. So, it's a good card, and here's why it's a good card. Remember Carebears? Carebears was this nature order deck that used Instill and a lot of 2-cost cards to, like, you know, make some good value. They used Cavalry Field and Gurkha Trap to get good trades with their minions. Well, now this guy comes to the party, and wow, does he make a difference. So what cost 1 cards can you get back that are relevant? Well, there's Elf Scout. That's pretty good. There is the Touch of Light, and that 1 mana Valor guy, the 0/1, that, you know, is just going to give another Might Emblem. That's pretty good. Actually, while we're on the topic, Shooting Sprout is also a really fun card you can get back, because if Shooting Sprout has Valor +1, you can play it, and it'll buff itself to 2/3. And then the next Valor card that's played buffs it even further. So are we going to see Carebears with, like, Shooting Sprouts? You know, we actually might. If you put enough, like, Might Emblem stuff into Shooting Sprouts, they could be good. Like, really good, because you buff it. Like, you buff it to a 2/3, you play a Cavalry Field, and now it's a 4/5 with 3 speed, you know, for 1 turn, but still. So yeah, that's gonna be a good thing. So Diogen, obviously incredible value. You play him, you can get back, like, more value with the Elf Scout, with a Shooting Sprout as well. And if you instill him, you get even more value. You instill this guy, and, like, I don't know, Namir or something. Well, maybe not Namir, because if it's Carebears, it's not gonna be Namir. But whatever card you want, that's 2 mana, you know, Carebears have lots of those, and then he gets you another card. So that's ridiculous value, and if you have mana left over, you can just play that 1 card. So if you play Instill Life, and you instill Diogen, and let's say, I don't know, Cavalry Field Captain, and then Diogen gets a Shooting Sprout, and you play the Shooting Sprout, you've got a 2/2, 2/3, and a 2/2 with 3 speed, with 1 card! 1 card created all that. Wow. So, Diogen, obviously insane. It's gonna... I mean, that nature order deck was already kind of getting set up with the addition of the Triangelica Sentinel and that 1 mana guy, I forget what he's called. Sentry of Light or something? The Touch of Light minion. Now you've thrown this into the mix. Oh, wow. Oh, and for extra added kicks, throw in Tren, because if you manipulate the Might Emblems on Tren, you can control what spells can and cannot be cast. Sounds like a good time. So Carebears are basically getting a God card, because, wow. But it doesn't have to be Carebears, it could be Hermelian Green, which is not that different from Carebears. They just run Namir and Gomer, right, instead of Reverence. And instead of Life Force Incarnate. So that's going to be just as good. You know, they could run Shooting Sprout. They could run Touch of Light or the Sentry of Light. It's good. It's good in every way. Thankfully, it's epic. So you're not going to see much of this in Limited. Which is good. Because a card like this... Actually, it would probably be less good in Limited. Because... you might not have an as easy time of getting these cards, but I imagine it would still be pretty solid in Limited. But it's epic, so you're not going to see him. Thank goodness this guy's legendary, because instilling 2 of these would be unimaginably stupid. Now, one last thing. Developers decided to avoid a complete disaster by making it that only your creature cards get the buff. That is to say, not minions you summon. So if you play guards, they're not generating any Might Emblems. That would be pretty stupid. Also, the Pony Brigade, if it generated like 5 Might Emblems, would be really dumb. So it's a good thing the developers looked at that. Also, this guy's a priest. That's more synergy for Hermelian priests. Now, of course, they don't run nature, but maybe they could start? I mean, they love buffs. So just toss this guy in. And, I don't know, toss the Sentry of Light. Toss Triangelica Sentinel. Why not? Maybe toss an Ambush Strike? Try like a different version of Priest? I mean, the only reason Priest went mono order was because they could play Spell Warden on curve and Word of Grace was more powerful. But they could go into this instead. Maybe you don't need Spell Warden anymore if Triangelica Sentinel can protect all your guys. The long story short is, this card is ridiculously good, and it's gonna see play in like Nature, Order, Carebears / Hermelian Green, with maybe even Shooting Sprout. I want to see if this card is what makes Shooting Sprout insane. I mean, it's not just this card, it's the other buffs. In a world where there's a lot of persistent buffs, Shooting Sprout is very happy because it can go from a useless 0-1 with just one buff, it's already a 2-3. With a second buff, it's a 4-5. Yeah. We could expect to see that happen, and Shooting Sprout has insane synergy with this card because you can just get it right back, and they can trigger the Valor immediately off of itself. Or, if you have him on the board, you could just instill 2 Shooting Sprouts, and they'll buff themselves. Or you could instill him and a Shooting Sprout, and then get another Shooting Sprout into your hand. So many Shooting Sprouts! Oh my god, it's crazy. It's a good card. Anyways, that's the first card, and it's actually, it's how fitting is it that it's a forest card because it has nature in it, and there's so much talk about Shooting Sprout. Second card, not so much about forest. Let's have a quick look at it. Holy Radiance, or as I'm gonna call it, holy shit. So let's see, choose one. It either deals 1 damage to all enemy creatures, or it becomes a blessing, and at the start of your turn, it deals 3 damage to all enemy creatures. Wow, that's pretty good, man. And I looked at this, I thought about this for a while, and I have some concerns, actually, both for this card and for Diogen, as far as the direction this expansion is taking. So, first of all, we are only getting good cards in this expansion. So, only Order, Nature, and Wisdom cards. There are no evil cards. So, bear that in mind. Now, as far as Holy Radiance, the first effect is pretty cool. 1 damage to all enemies. That's cool. But the second effect, I mean, 3 damage to everything? And it's not just, it's 3 damage to all enemies. That's completely insane. I mean, that's like an advanced Zash trigger for 2 mana. Okay, you have to wait a turn. But is that really a problem? On turn 4, you could develop a 2-drop and play this. And then if you're behind on the board, just put your guys in the back. Holy Radiance will wipe the board, and then you just put your guys back. And because it blows up at the start of your turn, it means you have full mana to work with, and any enemy creatures that survived will be wounded and will have 3 damage on them, and then you can just use another card to just finish them off, right? So, Holy Radiance seems to be pretty insane. It makes Arrow Barrage look like complete trash. Actually, now that I think of it, it makes all other removal, all other AoE other than Cataclysm look like complete trash, which is not necessarily so bad because most of that AoE is complete trash. Holy Radiance is how removal should work, much better than Distribute. That being said, 3 damage to all enemies, it doesn't hit your own board, that's a little broken. I think, at the very least, it should hit your creatures as well, because otherwise, aggressive decks could run this, right? 1 turn heal can run this. Oh god, save me. I just realized you can just put this into 1 turn heal, and they have a spell that can clear the board for 2 mana. Oh my god. Man, the more I think about this card, the more upset I am. And it's not even the end. Because it turns into a blessing, that means Unicorn, which is a card that's going to be run in Carebears probably, can just come down and kill it, right? You might think, okay, Holy Radiance is a good answer to these powerful cards we're getting. Well, now Unicorn will destroy it, right? And if you try to play Holy Radiance against that, Unicorn's just going to mean you lose the game because they play Unicorn and develop more pressure and you instantly lose. Which brings me to my main concern regarding this expansion. we're seeing a lot of win more cards. Carebears was a deck that relied on Cavalry Field Captain and Gurkha Tribe to buff up your effective 2-drops and make them like 3/3s, and that allowed them to basically free kill your opponent's 2-drops and sometimes 3-drops. So with Cavalry Field, you got a temporary buff, but you got a free kill and you develop like another 2/2 with 3 speed. With Gurkha Tribe, you got a permanent +1/+1 and a free kill, and if your elf dies, you get the 2/1 back. Now with all these Valor cards, we're getting even more ways to snowball the board, because a 4/4 can kill a 3/3 at no cost, right? So if, you know, in the past, if I play a 3/3 and you play a 3/3, we'll just trade. But if then I followed up with a Valor card, I just kill your guy for free. And I still have my 4/4. So I'm not sure how we're going to be able to deal with this. When you throw Triangelica Sentinel into the mix, now you have a card that protects the rest of your board. So you are buffing up these minions, and you drop Triangelica Sentinel to protect them. How are you supposed to come back against that? Cataclysm goes right out the window because Triangelica Sentinel protects you from Cataclysm, and you can just keep stacking Might Emblems on the guy. So what are you gonna do? And I mean, they can also play this in addition to their other cards. You can't even try to play Deadly Creatures because they'll just die to Holy Radiance. So I'm actually concerned that it's just gonna be more Snowball Spellweaver. And it's actually a lot of the time how these games went, where, you know, if you're going second, you're really scared to play a 2-drop against an enemy 2-drop because of Cavalry Field Captain potentially just crushing you. And, okay, Holy Radiance would be one answer to it, right? It would be. You could use that to answer it. The problem is, it's going to be a very polarizing card. It's either going to save you and make you come back on the board, or it's going to be killed by Unicorn. And yeah, and it's just going to be terrible. So I think Holy Radiance actually needs a small redesign, obviously. I don't like the idea that it's a blessing, because that means it can be removed by Unicorn, and spell removal is very rare. Unicorn is like the best spell removal card, and Nature has access to it, so this Nature Order buff deck is going to be able to run Unicorn and stop Holy Radiance from stopping them. And Sentinel will protect their minions, and they have Instill Life for like super value, and Diogen makes your Shooting Sprouts and Elf Scouts produce more value. And it just seems like this Landslide is coming. Speaking of Landslide, they can use that to remove your Deadly Creatures as well. I don't know what kind of cards Wisdom is getting, or what more cards Nature is getting, but I'm getting seriously concerned that colors like Rage are going to have no chance of doing anything. Because if you get creatures to 4 health, most of the removal starts to be bad, because it does 3 damage. Fireball does 3 damage. Fire Blast does 3 damage. You know, AoE Zash does 3 damage. Word of Fire, you need to be 4 aspects for it to do 4 damage. So, with this kind of theme coming out, we're gonna need to make these removal cards a little bit better, to be able to keep up. Like, Distribute cards are gonna be absolutely useless against these buffed up boards, because they can just distribute the damage however they want. And yes, Helm of Dominion and Enslave are actually answers to Sentinel, because Sentinel does not protect you from that. Problem is, Centaur Illusionist can then bounce the stolen Sentinel back to hand, and it'll be discounted by 2 mana, and it gets replayed, and it just buffs more stuff. So it just seems completely hopeless, right? This is basically what I'm worried about. We're gonna have a game where this deck just spams the board, and there's no way to answer it. You don't even need Spell Warden anymore. You don't have to stop enemy spells. I mean, you can use Tren if you want, and you can just make your board absolutely unkillable. Oh, man. We got more reveals coming. Well, I mean, we got the campaign is launching next week. There's going to be, I think, one more reveal, my reveal, coming Sunday. And probably no more after that, but I don't know. I feel like the evil factions are really getting the shaft here. Like, just think of a deck like zombies. How are zombies ever going to compete with this? Because you can play turn 1 Shooting Sprout and then start buffing it. And then you can just buff more and more. And then their Noxious Fumes isn't even going to do anything. Consume, if they can't target your stuff, it's going to be terrible. I mean, they can target it, but it's not going to reduce their health. It's going to take 1 Might Emblem because of Sentinel. And all their stuff is slow. You know, your guys are going to be buff and fast. You just absolutely crush them on the board. And even Hartsford won't be enough to rescue them. So the power level of these cards we're seeing is very high. But they're also pushing a very unhealthy type of gameplay that seems to have just no answer to it. And that scares me a lot. I was already annoyed with Care Bears playing the way they played. So far, all 4 of these cards just help Care Bears more. I mean, Holy Radiance, they could even just run it. Because it only hits the enemy board. They could just throw it on there and like just shut down any attempts to come back on the board. And if you try to use Holy Radiance against them, they'll just play Unicorn and destroy it. And you'll be completely crushed. I'm really worried, guys. Let me know what you think about these cards. Do you think Holy Radiance is overpowered? I think it is. Yeah. I'll see you guys for the next one. If there is no other reveal between now and Sunday, I'll probably toss in like a draft video here and there. Until then, I'll see you guys. We'll see where this expansion takes us, but I'm a little concerned. Take it easy.